In the days of the Ari, there was a student named Shimon Pilam in the city of Tzfat who was said to know the Torah, the Talmud, and the Zohar by heart. And in the same city there lived a man who was educated and wealthy, who had a large orchard and many fields, as well as 2 ancient forests. Now this wealthy man had one daughter who was of marriageable age. He had great difficulty in finding a worthy groom for her. No one was a fine enough scholar. Then it happened that he heard of Shimon Pilam, and he was determined that such a scholar should be his son-in-law. And with the help of a marriage broker, the betrothal was made. So it was that Shimon Pilam met both his bride and father-in-law for the first time on the day he was wed. And the love between Shimon Pilam and his bride was a deep one, which had been ordained in heaven, but it was also hidden. After the morning prayers, Shimon Pilam rode a horse into one of the forests, and he was not seen again until the sun was about to set and it was time for the afternoon prayers. What he did in the forest was a mystery, but he could not be accused of shirking his studies, for he carried the sacred books in his memory, and that way he could study them at any time. And the rich man saw that Shimon Pilam was honorable and treated his daughter well, so he never questioned his ways and went back to his life of luxury. Now the rich man had hired 2 Jews to serve as the guards of the 2 ancient forests he owned. Each had a hut at the entrance of one of the forests, and there they watched for those who sought to cut down the trees. Once in a while they would leave their huts and walk through the forest, and it happened that one of the guards saw a horse tied to a tree. When he went closer, he saw his employer's son-in-law lowering himself into the dark, insect-infested waters. What kind of mikvah was this? The man spent a long time in those waters, and when he emerged, he dressed, untied the horse, and rode out of the forest. Then the guard came out of hiding and saw, to his amazement, that those waters had turned completely pure. He bent down and drank from them, and the waters were clear and sweet. And he realized that he had witnessed a miracle of one of the hidden saints. So it was that the guard secretly observed Shimon Pilam as he made his way through the forest, and he saw many other kinds of miracles take place. Whatever barren tree he sat beneath soon had blossoms appear on it, and whatever path he walked on had flowers spring up overnight. All of nature welcomed his presence as if he were an angel, and he secretly went on his way healing whatever needed to be healed with a power that seemed to emanate from his very being. And indeed, he was searching for the sacred sparks in that holy forest, so that he could gather them and in this way repair the world. Now that guard was childless, and when he told his wife about the miracles he had witnessed in the forest, she begged him to go to the Tzadik and ask him for a blessing, so that they could have a child of their own. And one day, when he could not hold himself back any longer, he approached the Tzadik and said, "I know that you are a great Tzadik, who hides his ways from the world. There is only one thing that I would ask of you, and if you help me, I promise I will never reveal your secret. All I ask is that you pray for my wife and me to have a son." The Tzadik saw that the secret had been discovered, and he promised the man that within a year he and his wife would be hugging a baby boy. And so it was that the guard's wife gave birth at the end of the year to a healthy son. Now the guard kept his word and never revealed the secret of the Tzadik. Then, one day, his companion guard, who watched over the other forest, came to visit him. This guard's life had been tragic, for each of his sons had died before reaching the 8th day. And he said, "I see that God has blessed you and you have a son. May there be many more. Tell me, was there anything that you did that brought you such a blessing? Perhaps you can tell me so I can be blessed as well." Now the guard had no intention of betraying his vow, but at the same time he wanted to help the other guard, so he said, "I will help you on one condition, that you not ask any questions, but do whatever I tell you to do." The other guard quickly agreed to these terms, and the first one said, "What we have to do is switch places, so that you will guard my forest, and I will guard yours. Then everything will be all right." So it was that the guards switched places, and after a while the second guard observed the ways of the hidden Tzadik, who brought miracles to pass wherever he went. And when he saw these miracles, the guard understood why he had advised him to switch places. And at last he approached the Tzadik in the forest and told him of the disaster that had haunted the birth of every son. and he asked him for his blessing so that his future sons would live. The Tzadik was silent for a long time, and at last he said, "Do you remember that when you were young, you went with some friends to swim in the river and to wash in the waters? There was a large tree near the shore of that river, and at the bottom of the trunk, near the roots, there was engraved the image of a hand. And you had the urge to laugh and be merry, so you took a ring and placed it on the finger of the hand and said the wedding vows." The guard grew pale when he heard this, for he himself had forgotten about that incident. He lowered his eyes and admitted that it was true. And the Tzadik said, "At that moment, an evil spirit that lived in that place was wed to you. And since you married someone else, this evil spirit comes and kills your sons because you betrayed her and didn't fulfill the wedding vow." The guard was staggered by these words, and he said, "I remember that day as if it were yesterday. Afterwards I was ashamed of what I had done, and I put it out of my mind until now. Please tell me, what I must do in order to free myself of that evil spirit?" The Tzadik said, "I will write the bill of divorcement for you, and you must take it there to the same place and put the get at the place where the hand is engraved, and you will say, 'Shimon Pilam orders you to divorce me.'" And the guard went there, and he found the place where the hand was engraved, and he did as the Tzadik told him to do, and at last he was freed of that spirit. And the sons that were born to him after that all lived and studied the Torah and led happy and full lives. This story comes from Gabriel's Palace, Jewish Mystical Tales, selected and retold by Howard Schwartz.